everyone. Welcome to week 3. The good news about summer classes is that in a couple days or whenever we hit the midpoint for this week, we will actually officially be at the halfway point. So pat yourselves on the back for making it this far. I know it moves quickly, but remember that I'm here to help you in any way I can. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll take a look at week 3. So as you can see, week 3, we're transitioning away from literacies and discourse and moving into ideas of discourse and genre. Let's first take a look at the slides. So obviously, if you're watching this video, you've already found the slides. So literacies, discourse, and genre, trying to sort of merge what we did in week 2 with some more complex ideas in week 3. This particular unit asks you to explore the concept of discourse with a little d, or as you can see here, this is not a typo. One of the readings this week defines discourse with a big D, and you'll read all about the differences between those two differentiations between little d discourse and big D discourse this week. And I give you some information here to read all about it, but the short version is discourse studies help you think about the complexities of becoming literate in a particular discipline, or, as you'll read about this week, a discourse community. A quick example is you probably write emails to your friends, if you even write emails to your friends versus, say, texting, much differently than you write emails to a boss or professor. That's because you're writing in a completely different discourse. This helps you think about the complexities of not only the language, but the genres, which you'll also read about more this week, of different academic fields and then workplaces beyond academia. Discourse communities use genres. You'll read all about that this week, and this week will help to complicate your notions of genre, going beyond just a general category of, say, poetry, fiction, or country, or pop, or whatnot. If you're as old as I am, you probably remember walking into somewhere like a Blockbuster Video, where you go in and on one wall there's, say, Westerns. On one wall there's, say, romance or horror. And even though, yeah, sometimes genres blur together, I personally have watched, say, horror movies where there's a romantic element to it. But the idea is that still you have expectations about what a Western will look like versus what, say, a romance will look like. And we can take that knowledge and apply it and complicate it when looking at written genres in a discourse community. And I give you some quick definitions of genres you're already probably familiar with, such as a list. And yes, a list is a genre. It has a specific form and it has a purpose. If you're going to the grocery store and you want to remind yourself of what you need, you probably aren't going to write a poem. You're just going to write down, 1, milk, 2, eggs, or whatever it is you buy at the market. A course syllabus. It has a general format and expectations. Something like an invitation or an Instagram post caption, things that go beyond workplace or academic spaces also count as genres. And the short version to sum this all up is that genres help people achieve communication goals in discourse communities. Why study this? I know I touched upon this in the previous couple slides, but the short version is conceptual discourse knowledge, meaning learning about discourse, learning about genres and how they intersect, helps you think critically about the different ways in which you'll be expected to both read and write in not only academic spaces, but workplaces beyond that. I give you the example here of, say, a course syllabus again, to think about how perhaps even if your, say, sociology or botany classes also have a syllabus that looks like mine upon first glance, when you dig really deep, you'll notice that there are some differences. A quick one is students tell me in the most loving way possible that I have the most painfully long and detailed syllabus they've ever written. You can think about that in terms of, English and writing studies, they value language. That is not to say that, for example, your math class doesn't value language, but being concise, for example, is probably really valued in some STEM fields versus English, where we, as you probably have noticed, like to go on and on sometimes. I have some guiding questions here for you to ponder as you move throughout this week. And I've given you some definitions of key terms and concepts. And as always, remember that this is just sort of the bare bones get you started definition. And the work you'll do this week will actually help you unpack the full definitions of these concepts. So we have discourse, discourse community, genre, rhetorical situation, and I urge you to review the definitions of literacies, even just in your head, to help you start to connect these things. What you'll be doing this week is starting off with 2 readings. One of them is about discourse and discourse communities in particular, and one of them is about genres. Then you'll do a rough draft of a writing project where I'll have the opportunity to give you some help and support and feedback, and you'll use that feedback to turn in a revised version of that. Because this is a bigger project than what I called the mini project last week for literacies, this is why we're doing this project in multiple steps. So let's click over to week 3 module of Canvas to take a look at that. So as you can see, obviously, if you're watching this video, you've looked at the slides. You have 2 readings and a reading guide. And since you've already done a bunch of these already, I will skip showing you how to do them, but you know the drill by now, it's a Google Doc. The next thing you'll do for Monday is to preview the discourse community analysis project and choose a topic. And so this assignment has you take a look at the rough draft instructions as well as the revised draft instructions. So I'm going to take you through that right now, but I just want to mention that the rough draft isn't due till Wednesday and the revised draft isn't due till Sunday night to give you a little more time. So I'm going a little out of order here, but I'm doing it so that I can show you why I want you to at least look over those documents early before you choose your topic. So the rough draft is a shorter version of the revised draft. And I have no specific guidelines for the rough draft. As you can see, it's a bare bones rubric, which will hopefully give you a lot more space to move through ideas without worrying about, oh, am I meeting all these specific points? Where I just want to see evidence that you have put some effort into composing or writing this rough draft according to the guidelines, as well as meeting the minimum word count of having at least 900 words for the rough draft. And I have a note here about how, guess what, rough drafts are rough and messy. So you might have typos, you might have some chunks missing, and that's part of the process of drafting. So I promise you, I really do care about just seeing where you're going with this for the rough draft so that I can best support you and give you help and feedback and suggestions to help you to complete that assignment. So this particular project, and these are the revised draft guidelines, which will help you write the rough draft, as well as to choose a topic. And so like I warned you, I'm going a little out of order, but hopefully it'll make sense to you why I'm going in this direction. What you'll do for this project, in short, is you'll pick an academic or professional discourse community you're interested in joining. That could be, or maybe something you've already started to join, like a major, or maybe you've done an internship or already have a job in a particular field. And so my suggestion is to pick something that has value to you, whether it's your major or a career you're interested in joining. And I give you some examples of what you might look at there. And then you're going to choose a genre or a written document of some sort that is used by someone in that discourse community. For example, if you choose your major of botany, you might pick a syllabus for a botany class or a peer-reviewed article written by a botanist that perhaps a botany major might read. And what you're going to do for this project is you're going to create a guide for someone else who's interested in joining this discourse community, and you're going to guide them through how to use that genre. Or in other words, what sorts of lens you have to have in order to interact with, say, a botany syllabus or an engineering memo or a report on child development or whatnot. And I give you some guidelines here about what the particular genre of a how-to guide looks like. I also give you some general requirements in terms of things like, word count, citations, etc. What I have here is a general outline or template to help you write this project. And I've divided it up into intro, body, and conclusion so that you have those three general sections. But keep in mind, I'm not defining, how many paragraphs you have to have or what sorts of structures you have to use. I give you lots of suggestions here to help guide you, but keep in mind that these are more suggestions than a specific checklist. So this is what I have you do for the project. And I have lots of discussion points to help you move through your particular genre, such as what sorts of language do you notice in the botany syllabus or in the forestry reading or whatever it is. Patterns, implications, expectations. It might also be helpful before you get too far into this project to look through the rubric to see what key parts are important in terms of grading. So now that you have at least a brief sense of this project and the ultimate goals, you're going to then answer these questions here. And this is meant to be informal. This is meant to just be pitching me something so that I can help guide you, offer additional suggestions. If you go too far outside of the prompt, this is a way for me to gently guide you back in. So I've asked you, what discourse community have you chosen to study and what is one genre? And then do a little bit of writing about what you've learned so far about discourse and genre through the first reading assignment and the reading guides, and how that's going to help you analyze your particular genre. And I hope you're smart in realizing that, I'm actually doing some pre-writing here as well as proposing a topic. So I could literally take what I wrote for this assignment to Sarah here and use that to help build my draft. Yes, please do that. All right, so that's week 3. Go ahead and get started. Please know that I'm here to support you anytime and answer any questions you might have.